as members to ensure that what the Ogun State government in particular is doing to ameliorate the problem of our people in terms of hardship, which has been caused by COVID-19, that we need to do something to assist, because we have taken from the community and we believe in our rightful heart that we should also put something back to that community.
It states that the directive from the higher hierarchy of governance is for the common good of all. Hence, adherence to the stay-at-home order is pertinent.
We've heard that even some of our people here in Nigeria has been dying in UK, in the United States of America. It is not that they are telling lies. It is real. For us to nip it in the bud, all of us must keep social distancing.
Seriki of Owu Kingdom, Chief Ajao Adelekon, while receiving the relief items on behalf of the Olowu of Owu, commended the club's gesture towards rendering help to the vulnerable in the society. He says this will help reduce the untold hardship on the masses while patiently staying at home during the lockdown order.
I express our sincere gratitude to the Owu Bekuta for their generous donation of these food items as palliatives for the effect of the lockdown. It is a kind gesture on their part, which we appreciate. We assure them that we will distribute the materials equitably to all parts, all sections of Owu Kingdom.
Nigerians were thereafter urged to keep practicing social distancing, covering of their noses and mouths with face masks, and washing their hands regularly with soap and water in order to totally end coronavirus in the country.
Ogun State Council for Islamic Affairs, an appendage of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, has felicitated with the Umar on the commencement of this year's Ramadan, as declared by the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Sa'ad Abubakar. In a statement jointly signed by its chairman, Sheikh Abdul Rashid Mayaleki, and Secretary, Dr. Abdul Fattah Abdul Salam, urged Muslims to accept the present realities of COVID-19 as ordained by Allah, and wanted all to observe all preventive measures by the NCDC. The statement further enjoined all Muslims to use the period to sacrifice and cooperate in a bid to stem the spread of coronavirus. The Council commended Governor Dapo Abiodun for the proactive steps taken so far in managing COVID-19, which include increase in number of test centers and palliative food support. The statement concludes by asking all to subject themselves to COVID-19 testing to know their status, while calling on all well-meaning Nigerians to support the vulnerable people. As Muslim faithful globally begin this year's Ramadan, it has become imperative to remind all of the reason for the holy month, which symbolizes spiritual rejuvenation and love for fellow mankind. In a statement by the Chief Missioner, Al-Baraka Islamic Society of Nigeria, Barrister Mutiu Agboke, expressed concern that this year's Ramadan, which coincided with the period the world is bedeviled with the coronavirus pandemic, will strictly be in adherence to all laid down precautionary measures to flatten the curve of the virus. The Islamic cleric then advised all Muslim faithful to desist from any cluster gathering, adding that the observance of Tarawih, Tahajjud, Tafsir, Ramadan lectures, and Laylatul Qadr, among other forms of activities, can only be carried out among family members and in their homes in obedience to ban all high-density gathering and social distancing order. The period of Ramadan, he noted, is meant for Muslims to be magnanimous to people by giving food items, cash and other items to the needy, because such acts as reward in Ramadan, and admonished Umar to increase their acts of benevolence during this period. The Chief Missioner concludes by asking all and sundry to support government and all health agencies in managing the spread of the pandemic, and therefore reiterated the need to regularly wash their hands, use the hand sanitizer, and take responsibility for a healthy society. The high level of involvement of the youth in driving various farming initiatives of the current administration in Ogun State is in line with the belief in the capacity of this segment of the population in the development of agriculture. Commissioner for Agriculture in Ogun State, Dr. Adiola Odedino, stated this while inspecting the over 120 hectares of land of rice farm cultivated solely by a cluster of youth with maximum support of government in Showumi village, Mokoloki, under Obafemi Wode local government. Matthew Showumi has the details.
In compliance with the guidelines to curtail the spread of COVID-19 pandemic, Commissioner for Agriculture in Ogun State, Dr. Adiola Odedino, washing his hands as he used the period of relaxation of lockdown to inspect the milestones being recorded by the current administration in the state in its efforts to ensure the state takes its rightful position in rice cultivation and production being driven by the youth. The over 120 hectares of land of rice farm in Showumi village, which is being used as a model to be replicated in other areas of the state, will provide employment for the youth through agriculture value chain development projects.
The state governor, our governor, is supporting us with land clearing. When we clear the land, then we now supply the youth with seed, we give them money, input, and we link them to off-taker rice processors. And in Ogun State, we have 4 mills that are working. Presently, they are suffering for paddy. So you've seen now that as in some weeks to come, we are going to be taking paddy from here.
Commissioner for Agriculture, Dr. Adiola Odedino, said this is a success story of this administration in agricultural development and food production, the foundation of which was laid at the inception of the tenure of the government.
Right from land preparation, water supply, drying, milling, marketing, contract drying, transport, packaging. So rice business is big business. So we are now, we've come to the terms now. We come to the reality that our youth must make money also.
Permanent Secretary in the ministry said the capacity of the state to feed the entire nation is being developed through youth-centered agricultural initiatives.
It's a continuous process. You can either go to the various local governments, you can come to the Ministry of Agriculture. The online portal is closed. So through those routes and the various extension offices.
President of Value Chain Development Program for all youth farmers in Ogun State, Ajibola Johnson, and Nasiru Usman, who was posted to Ogun State from Zamfara for his National Youth Service Corps program and decided to stay back after the service to benefit from the program, said everything that the youth need to be successful in agriculture has been provided by the government.
The one we are in now is 125 hectares of rice, supported by Ogun State Ministry of Agriculture.
We are really commending the state government and the Value Chain Development Program, IFAD, and other international organizations that are supporting us.
In an interaction with the people of Showumi village, the commissioner assured of total commitment of Ogun State government to boost rice farming in the state. Dr. Odedino then moved to the 75-hectare cassava farm in Eredu, which has also been cultivated by the youth, where he assured uninterrupted food production even beyond the COVID-19 pandemic. He stated that he was happy to showcase the achievements of the state in agricultural development and food production in the last 10 months, which will result in abundance for the people.
We established this farm during the regime of His Excellency Dr. Abiodun. We planted the rice during his regime, and we're also harvesting it now. This is our first show, and we want people to know that in Ogun State, the agricultural authorities, we are not sitting on the fence. The government, we are not sitting on the fence. We are on the side of food security, and that's why we are saying our people should put their mind at rest. They should encourage the youth to join the train. In Ogun State, we are doing well.
Mr. Anthony Salako, who is one of the project coordinators, assured that the youth have been well trained to take a lead in food production in the state. Matthew Showumi, Ogtv News.
Now to Governor's story on wearing of face mask. From 1st of May 2020, it is now a criminal offense for anyone in Ogun State to get out of their residence without wearing a face mask. This is aimed at flattening the curve of the spread of COVID-19. The governor gave this directive while addressing the press on the updates to curb the spread of COVID-19 on the state, as violators will be arrested, taken to the isolation center and made to observe community service. Governor's office correspondent Tunde Olaniro reports that the governor promised to prosecute perpetrators of fake news to fullest extent of the law, disclosing that the free window for the second week of the second phase of the lockdown remains Monday 27th, Wednesday 29th, and Friday 1st of May.
Ogun State enters into the second week of the second phase of the lockdown of the state to flatten the curve of COVID-19, which coincides with the commencement of the Ramadan fast. The governor appreciates the health workers for their efforts, revealing that they have been given hazard insurance.
The windows of break would be on Monday next week, Wednesday next week, and Friday next week. What that means is that after today, we'll be locking down till Monday 7 a.m. so that nobody is confused. We lock down today, midnight. The next window is 7 a.m. on Monday. We lock down to 2 p.m. We lock down after that till Wednesday, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Then we lock down again till 7 a.m. On Friday to 2 p.m. I want to use this opportunity to sound another note of warning. Anybody that we find culpable of propagating fake news, we will prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. We will deal with them and consider them as saboteurs to the efforts of government.
He notes that the testing equipment that is being made available in the state is to curb the community spread of the virus.
We have now commenced the installation of testing booths which are already being deployed across the state, particularly around the vulnerable areas such as our communities, their borders with Lagos State and international border communities. I wish to report to you that this has significantly boosted our effort to test individuals. A major feature of this testing booth, which is the first in sub-Saharan Africa, is that it protects the health officials carrying out the test from being infected. We are doing those walk-through or drive-through tests in areas where we consider border areas and areas that are highly populated. Our primary focus will be in the areas of Adodo, Ota local government, Ifo local government, and Obafemi Wudi, being the areas that are contiguous to the epicenter. And basically, we will encourage everyone to go and test. There's no requirement to be tested. We also will be supporting those that go to test with multivitamins, paracetamol, and things like that, just to encourage them. And we'll be giving them face masks as well. The issue of accrediting the molecular lab is another thing. The DG NCDC is not the person that does the accreditation. He explained to us that the accrediting team were busy accrediting a lab in Sokoto, and they were meant to arrive yesterday. I'm not sure they have since arrived. But he has assured us that between now and the weekend, they will come and accredit that laboratory. And what does the accreditation mean? What they need to do is to ensure that the results from that laboratory are accurate. So what they would do is they would test samples at that laboratory, they would test samples at another laboratory to ensure that both results are, are incongruent. So the positive in our laboratory is also positive in maybe Ibadan or in Lagos. You do that a few times and then that pretty much confirms the readiness of that laboratory. So
from the 1st of May 2020, the use of face mask will be made compulsory in the state.
Well, I think maybe by the time we're about to implement this face mask order, maybe then I'll begin to rule out what the punishments for violators will be. But be rest assured that we will arrest you if you don't wear a face mask. Because, in fact, when we arrest you, we'll take you to an isolation center. Because we will believe that you want to intentionally inflict or afflict someone with COVID-19. That's why you're not wearing your face mask. So we are taking an isolation that we isolate you for 14 days, during which we make you do community service. So, in your best interest, please ensure that if you are going out, you wear your face mask.
Prince Takwabiodun urged residents of the state to be calm, obey all government directives, and maintain personal hygiene. Tunde Olaniro, Ogtv News.
The National Judicial Council on Friday recommended 2 High Court judges for compulsory retirement for age falsification and failure to deliver judgment for 4 years. The Council, in a statement by the NJC's Director of Information, Mr. Soji Oye, said the judges, Justice Francis Abose, who is the acting president, Imo State Customary Court of Appeal, and Justice Aliyu Musa Liman of Bauchi State High Court, had been placed on immediate suspension pending when the NJC's recommendations will be approved by their respective state governors. Oye said these were part of the resolutions reached at the 91st meeting of the Council held online on Wednesday and Thursday. The NJC's meeting was presided over by the Chief Justice of Nigeria and the Chairman of the Council, Justice Tanko Muhammad. Mr. Oye said the Council recommended that Acting President, Customary Court of Appeal, Imo State, Justice Abose, for compulsory retirement for falsifying his date of birth from 1950 to 1958. The Council asked Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State to deduct the salaries he had earned for about 8 years from November 2015, when he ought to have legitimately retired, to date from his retirement benefits. The statement stated findings showed that he was supposed to have retired in November 2015 when he clocked the mandatory retirement age of 65. The Ondo State government has arrested 4 men suspected to have killed Mrs. Funke Olakunrin, the daughter of the national leader of Afenifere, Paruben Foshoranti. They are Lawal Mazaje from the Felele area of Kogi State, Adamu from Jada area of Adamawa State, Muhammad Usman from Ilela area of Sokoto State, and Owa Abubakar from Shinkafi area of Zamfara State. The suspects were arraigned on Friday by the government at a chief magistrate court sitting in Akure, the Ondo State capital. They were brought to the court by security operatives 1 week after the police announced their arrest in a statement on Thursday last week. The first public relations officer, Frank Umba, said one of the suspects, Awal Abubakar, was arrested on March 4 along the Shagamu-Ore Expressway in Ondo in a follow-up action on a case of a high-profile armed robbery and kidnap for ransom that occurred in Ogun State. The Ogun State Police Command has assured residents of the state of the safety in view of a letter purportedly written by what it described a faceless group called 1 Million Boys, which has threatened to storm the state to carry out criminal activities. The command, in a statement by its public relations officer, DSP Abimbola Oyeyemi, said it is not perturbed by the mischievous letter, as it has put all necessary structures in place to deal with any criminal activity, especially during the COVID-19 lockdown period in the state. The statement added that the command is not oblivious of the fact that some hoodlums may want to take advantages of this period and had activated all its tactical squads as well as other conventional policemen to be on red alert. The command also warned those who are in the habit of disseminating news capable of causing fears in the minds of the people to desist from such, as it would not hesitate to bring their sources to book. A strong warning has also been sent to those who take laws into their hands to stop this henceforth, adding that such acts will be seriously dealt with. The Nigerian Air Force has concluded a capacity building program for its flight nurses and aircrew on effective and efficient conduct of aeromedical evacuation missions to airlift wounded soldiers from various theater of operation to appropriate treatment facilities. The week-long training conducted in a simulation exercise at the flight line of the 307 Executive Airlift Group, Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, and using the C-130H aircraft was aimed at enhancing the knowledge of participants. In a statement by the Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commander Ibikunle Daramola, the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, expressed satisfaction with the conduct of the training and simulation exercise, which depicted the expectation of flight nurses and other crew members. He noted that the capacity, which would reduce the risks to wounded personnel and enhance their chances of survival, could also be delayed for the emergency movement of COVID-19 patients. The Chief of the Air Staff disclosed that the Nigerian Air Force, in the last 4.5 years, made concerted effort to build the capacity of its medical personnel. The Armed Forces of Nigeria, through the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dele, in continuation of its onslaught on Boko Haram insurgents, has destroyed compounds housing terrorist leaders at Bulawa on the fringes of the Sambisa Forest in Borno State. The airstrikes were executed based on credible human intelligence reports, as well as intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions that led to the identification of the target compounds within the settlement. Consequently, the fighter jets dispatched by the Air Task Force to take out the compounds scored accurate hits in the target area, leading to the destruction of some of the structures as well as the neutralization of some of the terrorists. Also, Boko Haram fighters who attempted to reposition to engage the attacking aircraft were mobbed up in follow-on attacks by the jets. The Armed Forces of Nigeria has, however, reiterated its unrelenting efforts in furtherance of the objective of restoring peace and security in the northeast to sustain the onslaught against the enemies of the country. On business news segment, CBN sets December 31st, 2024 exit date for SMS intervention loans. Join us for details after the break. Thanks for joining us on the business segment of the news. The Central Bank of Nigeria has set December 31, 2024 exit date for its intervention loans to small and medium enterprises and households aimed at cushioning the effects of coronavirus on businesses and the people. It also gave December 31, 2030 as the exit date for the COVID-19 intervention funds for the pharmaceutical sector in its guidelines for the funds recently. The banking regulator disclosed a combined 150 billion naira intervention fund to ease the impact of the pandemic on some sectors. As part of its measures to cushion the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the economy, the CBN introduced a 100 billion naira credit support intervention for the healthcare industry. This was with a view to strengthening the sector's capacity to meet potential increase in demand for healthcare products and services. Specifically, the scheme was to provide credit to indigenous pharmaceutical companies and other healthcare value chain players intending to build or expand capacity. It was also expected to increase private and public investment in the healthcare sector, facilitate improvement in healthcare delivery, and reduce medical tourism to enhance foreign exchange conservation. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and its partners have handed over 6 ambulances and medical consumables to Southwest states. The corporation said in a statement issued in Abuja that the donation was part of the 21 billion naira intervention initiative on the COVID-19 pandemic by the Nigeria oil and gas industry. The items donated to Lagos, Ogun, Ekiti, Osun, Oyo, and Ondo states were received by the Minister of State for Health, Dr. Olorunimbe Mamora, who is a member of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, and Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Speaking at the ceremony, Silva said, apart from the 6 ambulances, the state would also get thousands of testing kits, personal protective equipment, including face masks, body suits, and gloves and sanitizers. He said similar donations had earlier been made by the oil and gas sector in Abuja, Rivers, and Bayelsa states, adding that collaboration was needed to defeat the novel coronavirus. The minister added that similar items would be delivered to Kano and Katsina states, and that the industry would build emergency and infectious diseases hospitals in Uyo, Akwa Ibom state, and Yenegua, Bayelsa state. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development is calling for urgent measures to address the debt burden estimated at $3.4 trillion in Nigeria and other developing countries facing economic disaster as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. The conference, in a report released on Thursday, said developing countries were facing a looming debt disaster as most of the revenue of these countries had gone down. Analysts at the UN agency estimated that in 2020 and 2021 alone, repayments on the public external debt were estimated at nearly $3.4 trillion, comprising between $2 trillion and $2.3 trillion in high-income developing countries and between $666 billion and $1.06 trillion in middle and low-income countries. The report said more systematic, transparent, and coordinated measures towards writing off developing countries' debts across the board were urgently needed. It suggested that a $1 trillion write-off would be closer to the figure needed to prevent economic disaster across the developing world. It noted that prior to the COVID-19 crisis, a huge percentage of many of these government revenues were expended on debt repayment, squeezing health and social expenditures. It noted that Nigeria, Ghana, Pakistan, and some middle and high-income developing countries had been excluded from recent debt relief packages despite facing unsustainable debt burdens and potential financial meltdowns. That was the business segment of the news. From the global scene, WHO ready to share coronavirus drugs, tests, and vaccines. It is now time for the world today.